Australia, where King Charles is continuing his royal tour, but emotions running high after the King was confronted by an Indigenous senator.
Give us our land back. Give us what you stole from us. Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people. You destroyed our land. Give us a genocide land. This is not your land. This is not your land. You are not my kids.
Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe could be heard shouting at the King, telling him that he wasn't her king and demanding Charles return stolen land to Indigenous people in Australia. King Charles had just finished delivering a speech where he did acknowledge First Nations people in the country, saying they have generously shared their stories and culture. Joining me now to discuss is Afua Hagan. She is our CTV Royal commentator. Afua, good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. I want to begin by asking, this senator, what she said, Lydia Thorpe, to the King when approached, is this reflective of how the majority of Australians feel about the monarchy?
Well, Australia at the moment seems to be a country very divided. I mean, you did have this Senator Lydia Thorpe, as you said, making these statements, and you do have other people that agree with her. But at the same time, you had thousands of people literally turn out in Canberra to greet the King and the Queen. They went on a walkabout yesterday and today, where they were greeted very warmly by people with signs saying, you know, welcome home, King Charles, welcome home, Queen Camilla. You know, they were really, really well received by all these people who have turned out. Now, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is someone who has always been very keen on having a referendum on whether we should still have, or whether Australia, should still have the British royal family as their head of state. So, you know, King Charles being head of state. They had a referendum in 1999, and another referendum isn't on the cards at the moment. That is kind of being kicked down the road. But these kind of sentiments do remain in some parts of the country. So it seems to be at the moment, you are seeing two sides of Australia. You know, an Australia that, yes, thousands of people have turned out to welcome the King and Queen, but an Australia that does seem to have some deep-seated issues when it comes to the royal family and having the British monarch as head of state.
So no doubt the King and the palace were prepared for something like this. Has there been any response to what the senator said?
Well, absolutely. Buckingham Palace were more than prepared, and the King and Queen were more than prepared for this kind of thing to happen. Perhaps they didn't expect it to happen so early on in their tour. Now, Buckingham Palace haven't made any comment about this particular outburst, but instead have been focusing on the crowds, like I said, that turned out to welcome the King and Queen, and saying how deeply touched the King and Queen are by the amount of people that turned out to greet them. So they're focusing on the positives rather than the negatives of this tour.
And as for the King's health, how does he appear to you, Afua, as he is out and about?
Well, especially when he is meeting people and greeting people, he seems to be in very good spirits. As I've said before, you know, this is not a full-on tour. It's not your usual, you know, sort of 7-8 engagements in a day. It is kind of pared back. There is no engagements in the evening and no state dinner. So it's a tour light, if you will. But he is still out there. You know, it's pretty warm under the punishing Canberra and Sydney sun. But when he is out and about, especially when he's amongst the people, he does look like he is enjoying himself, like he's having a good time. And we know that when he is amongst the people, when he's doing those meet and greets, that's where he is really in his element. So at the moment, he looks like he's in good spirits and in high energy.
Yes, as he takes a bit of a break from his cancer treatments. Afua Hagan, good to see you today. Afua is our CTV Royal commentator, joining us this morning from London.